Come on in, come on in. The Proudfoots are claiming they've been cleared, folks. Newly leaked court documents are out, folks, and the Proudfoots are claiming they've been cleared. Seth Rogers has told his sister, Sarah, that the Proudfoots have been cleared. And Nick Barris reported that the Proudfoots claimed they've been cleared. What in the world is going on here, folks? Good morning. Good morning. Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers is still missing. And a lot of information has been coming out, been uncovered. We're going to talk about this case. Seth has actually told his sister that his sister's claiming that Seth, long time ago, way back, that Seth told his sister right the day after the landfill. Remember the landfill? Seth told his sister that the Proudfoots have been cleared. What in the world is going on here? Now, there's some leaked documents that we're not going to share because there's a lot of sensitive information and we got some insight about these documents. They're legit. They're legit. And it can't come out of a court hearing dealing with the Proudfoots, but the Proudfoots are claiming they have been cleared. Are they really cleared or are they not cleared? And why is Seth saying that the Proudfoots have been cleared? So we're going to, anyone that's disrespectful is getting the boot. You can come up with an opinion all you want, but you're getting the boot. Any disrespectful comments, I've said that in the chat. I don't normally say that, but I mean, there's a lot of people, you can come up with an opinion, but if you insult me, you're getting the boot. So we're talking about the case of Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers. Sebastian went missing February 26, 2024. He has still not been found. Is this a criminal case or is this a runaway? Are we dealing with a runaway? Are we dealing with Sebastian actually walking out of the house and running away? Or was Sebastian lured out of the house by somebody or a group of people? Let's talk. There is some new stuff out, folks, I want to share with all of you. And I don't even know where to start here. Should we start back? Should we reverse ourselves and go all the way back? Should we go all the way back and start moving forward in steps? I think that would be the best dealings here, right? The best way to kind of present this and show you the paper trail here. There's some indications to me that the Proudfoots being cleared might have some validity here. Case in point, their faith going to Chris in the summertime. That always bothered me as far as why in the world would Faith go to Chris if Chris and Katie are under criminal investigation for doing something to Sebastian? Why in the world would the courts even give Faith custody or Chris custody of Faith? Why would the courts give Faith and put Faith in the hands of Chris and Katie Proudfoot if they were under criminal investigation? Because then I'm thinking, what in the world is the judge thinking here? You know, you wouldn't do that. Not at all. Like, you think about another case, the Wells case, right? The Wells, Don and Candace Wells. Those boys were taken out of the house and they never went back to the Wells house, right? And, you know, the Wells are under investigation on numerous fronts. But why in the world would a judge, you know, sign off on Chris getting, and Katie, getting a child for the summertime if they were under investigation? That's one thing. So I was always baffled by that, but now it may be clear. Why? Because it seems like it's quite possible with this particular case, folks, that the Proudfoot's been cleared a long time ago. And we kind of just ignored it. So it's interesting. I want to show you a post. I want to show you the post about the reporter Nick Barris. Nick Barris. And Nick Barris posted this post on his Facebook page, and you can go check it out. Because after I show you this post, and I'm going to show you posts about what Seth was claiming to his sister, that the Proudfoot's been cleared. And this was way back, which is very, very interesting, to say the least. So Nick Barris put this post out, and I'm going to get Magnolia in the chat also. He put this post out way back on March 3rd. Nick Barris. And you know Nick Barris. He's talking to Craddock. He seems like he is the go-to guy when it comes to this case about the reporting. I like his reporting. I think his reporting is very, very good. So this is what Nick Barris said.
He said, on another note, several of you asked me to do a Facebook Live on the Sebastian case. Plan on it right here, Monday at 7 p.m. Update. Sebastian Rogers' mother and stepfather spoke out publicly for the first time Sunday night on a missing teen broadcast on YouTube with Duchess. They told the host that they have been thoroughly vetted and questioned by investigators who they say have cleared them of any involvement or wrongdoing with regard to Sebastian's disappearance. So the very first thing it says they've been cleared. So that's them saying they have been cleared. It's the Proudfoots claiming it. And it's quite possible Seth maybe said it himself, but that's not the case now because Seth is saying now that he's not cleared. Seth is saying that he's a suspect. But this goes all the way back to March 3rd. This is when we first heard this about the parents being cleared. Now I'm going to take you somewhere else here because this is circulating. This is circulating. So it's the Proudfoots saying they've been cleared. But here, let's go back again. This was posted on March 8th. And this was a post that we had in the mysterious disappearance of Sebastian Rogers. And it is a screenshot of Seth's sister. And Seth's sister says and has a conversation with someone, and the person that posted this is in this group. And I'm going to show you. And they highlighted the word cleared. And the cleared was highlighted on their phone to show what's going on. Oh my God, I just got a phone call from Seth. And he said he just got a phone call from the TBI and they told him that Katie and Christopher have been cleared. WTF. And then it says, shut up. No way. There's just no way. So this is Seth's sister. As you guys know, her name is Sarah Cook Swank. She's the sister of Seth who, at the beginning of a few days after Sebastian went missing, set up a GoFundMe for Seth. And I said in the group here, and I reposted this because it's a post from way back in a while. And I said, let's go back to this post. Seth's sister claimed Seth told her that Chris and Katie were cleared a day after the landfill search. What's going on here? Now, if you take this post, it goes back to April 21st. And it was posted by a Christina Proctor. And in this post, Christina Proctor says, ready for this case, and this is from April, ready for this case to get even more confusing. So on March 8th, the day after the landfill search, Sarah Cook Swank, Seth's sister, sent a message claiming Seth told her that Chris and Katie have been cleared by the TBI. Then the SCSO claimed they haven't cleared anyone. So are the SCSO and TBI not on the same page? Or maybe Seth lied to Sarah. Or maybe Sarah just made this all up. But why? I haven't shared this until now because I didn't want to violate trust. But at this point, nothing makes sense and people need to start being honest. This should be about Sebastian, and it feels like adults have made it about themselves, taking attention away from the only person that matters. And here's the post, April 21st. Oh my God, I just got and this was from March 8th, the day after the landfill search, purportedly from Seth's sister, Sarah Cook Swank. Oh my God, I just got a phone call from Seth, and he said he just got a phone call from the TBI, and they told him that Katie and Christopher have been cleared. WTF. WTF. And let's take it back to back here when I said earlier, and I went earlier. I'm going to take it back to the original post because someone was saying, well, that looks fake. It's a fake. It's a fake. It looks like it's been cropped and it's fake and everything like that. And she validated and pointed it out through her phone that she obtained this screenshot. Now, only Seth can say out on the record here if that is not true, or it's fake, or Seth never said that, or he lied, or his sister
Sarah is lying or someone is lying on their end, or it's not real, or it's fake. But this is supposedly coming from Seth's sister, who the poster had posted in the group the correspondence they had. So it takes us back to the question. You have Nick Barris on the 3rd of March reporting that the Proudfoots claim they've been cleared. You have Seth Rogers, March 8th, the post where he tells his sister the Proudfoots have been cleared. Way back. Way back. Are the Proudfoots cleared or not? That is the question. Are the Proudfoots cleared or not? Because there's also a court document. Now, we're not going to share this court document because we were told that it was sealed. It's dealing with the custody of Faith. And in that court document, under the penalty of perjury, when you file court documents, the Proudfoots have claimed that they've been cleared in order to obtain custody of Faith. Now, are the Proudfoots lying? So we're not going to actually show that court document because I was told it was sealed. It was supposed to be sealed and it got leaked. Someone leaked it out. There's other people that have been putting this court document out there. You can go see for yourself. But I'm told it is legit. It's a legit filing. And they are claiming they've been cleared. Now, to me, it makes a little bit of sense, considering the circumstances around this case. We have Seth Rogers, who has been his behavior has been very strange lately. This seems more hostile, desperate, trying to get him and his people, trying to get him cleared. Does he want to be cleared because he knows the Proudfoots have been cleared and he's not? Is that what's going on here? And I ask you that because it seems like he wants to be cleared. Clear Seth. Clear Seth. Protest a couple weeks ago centered around clearing Seth. Is Seth mad that the Proudfoots... And again, I'm not saying Seth is involved with the disappearance of Sebastian like he did something. I'm just saying that maybe he just wants to be cleared because the Proudfoots have also... Or the Proudfoots been cleared. In his mind, because he said it to his sister, allegedly... Allegedly, he said it to his sister. Court documents are saying that the Proudfoots are claiming. This is all of them claiming. But I haven't heard it out of law enforcement's mouth. It hasn't come out of law enforcement's mouth that any of them been cleared. But it's also hasn't come out of the law enforcement mouth that this is a crime. So does law enforcement actually have to say someone is cleared if there was no crime committed? That's where it's a little bit confusing here because I'm sure some people are like, well, law enforcement's not clearing anyone because you have an open case. True. And personally, my opinions on the matter, I don't think anyone should be cleared until Sebastian is found. But getting custody of Faith is one sign to me that maybe law enforcement is not looking at the Proudfoots as if they did a crime here. And number two, look at the stalking and harassment allegations against the Proudfoots. The law enforcement is very gung-ho at this point on protecting the Proudfoots. And to me, it's protecting them as victims in this case. Case in point. The other day when they had their protection of abuse issues and the stalking and stuff like that, Sumner County Sheriffs were there. There's an open investigation right now about the Proudfoots being stalked and harassed. Now, if they were criminals themselves or suspects in a case, do you think the law enforcement would be so gung-ho on protecting them like that? I'm not so sure. Now, I made a post. This is interesting. This is my take on the situation. And this seems like this is facts at this point. Until law enforcement, or maybe we should get like Nick Barris or somebody to clarify for sure if the Proudfoots been cleared. But it seems like the green light is they've been cleared. It seems like to me. But I don't know. But they're claiming they've been cleared. They're claiming they've been cleared. So what are they doing? Just laying low and seeing what happens? They're claiming they've been cleared. Or does law enforcement just have no evidence whatsoever to link them to a crime? Like no evidence. No evidence. So no crime that they know of that occurred, but it's baffling because that award is out, right? Reward is out. The reward is out. $50,000 reward. But I posted this on Twitter, and this seems like, I don't know how anyone can not argue, how not agree with this. I said, it appears Seth Rogers is the only parent who is a suspect in the disappearance of Sebastian Rogers. Seth has admitted to numerous media outlets he is a suspect and wants to be cleared. Nick Barris reported March 3rd, 2024, that the Proudfoots said they were cleared. No media outlet has ever reported that the Proudfoots are suspects or not cleared. Has any media outlet reported that the Proudfoots are a suspect of anything? Because I haven't seen it. If somebody did, please post a link. Proudfoot, Seth, any of them. I haven't heard any media reports that Seth was a suspect. However, Seth said out of his own mouth. Seth said out of his own mouth and told the media. Seth told the media in numerous reports that he is a suspect. And he wants his name cleared. And people around him are, saying we need to clear Seth. We need to clear Seth. So that's not a secret. But the Proudfoot's been totally tight-lipped about this entire situation. They've been totally tight-lipped about this situation.
Vigil is set for later this month to bring awareness to the disappearance.
And he really likes to take care of animals.
There will be a protest outside the Sumner County Sheriff's office later this month. His dad is working to clear his own name as a suspect.
There will be a protest outside the Sumner County Sheriff. That was bad. His dad is trying to clear his name as a suspect. That's what was said.
There will be a protest outside the Sumner County Sheriff's office later this month. His dad is working to clear his own name as a suspect. There will be a...
Seth cleared as a suspect? I haven't heard authorities say that Seth is a suspect, so it's coming out of Seth's own mouth that he's a suspect. But the Proudfoots have never publicly said anything about them being a suspect. What the Proudfoots are saying, though, that they've been cleared. They've been cleared. I also made this additional post here. I want to show you something because these are kind of what the facts are of this case thus far. And I kind of put it together in my take about it, and I want to definitely hear your take about it. I definitely want to see your take about it. To me, it seems like there's two theories here with this case. It's either Sebastian wandered off and ran away, and they're going to find Sebastian somewhere around the property or close or somewhere else. Sebastian either run away or Sebastian was taken out of the house. That's the only thing I see in this situation. But if the Proudfoots are claiming they're cleared and they get faith and they're claiming they're clear and they're going about their life and law enforcement is seems like they're protecting them and not letting people harass them and bully them, and it seems like there's open cases against people for doing things to the Proudfoots, makes me feel like, does law enforcement consider the Proudfoots a victim in this case? The Proudfoots themselves have never came out and said that they believe Seth did something. The Proudfoots have never publicly came out and said that they believe Seth did something with Sebastian. But Seth and his mom and the people around them have been continuously coming out and saying that the Proudfoots did something with Sebastian, or the Proudfoots are involved. Seth, his mom, and the people around him have continuously blamed the Proudfoots. But the Proudfoots, who claim they're cleared, have never publicly came out and said that Seth has done anything. Now, let me ask you something. I just want to ask you something, my thoughts here. What if, at the end of the day, Sebastian went out and just ran away? Do you think Seth would owe the Proudfoots a public apology for what he and his mom have said about the Proudfoots? Or do you think the Proudfoots would be at fault for Sebastian running away? Do you think anyone's at fault here? A lot of crazy scenarios here. I want to hear your thoughts. Now, I posted this earlier today. This is what we've learned. This seems to me the truth of this all. Seth could very well be an innocent person too in this. Just like the Proudfoots could be innocent. The Proudfoots could definitely be guilty too. Then the law enforcement just doesn't have the evidence yet. Just like Seth could be guilty. But law enforcement doesn't have the evidence yet. But they're claiming they've been cleared. Seth has said they've been cleared. Seth is claiming he's not cleared. What does that tell you? I did put this information out here earlier, and I said here, Seth claims he is a suspect. Seth running around with shady people and it seems to be losing it. Seth claims Ellie is not speaking with him. True. Seth claimed to his sister that the Proudfoots have been cleared. Ellie are investigating Seth and his associates for harassing and stalking the Proudfoots. True. I don't know if Seth took Sebastian or not. Don't know if Seth conspired with others to take Sebastian or not. Seth plays a lot of word salad. Seth has a history of being accused of child abuse. He had his guns taken away, and he's been sued for workplace violence. All of that is true, it seems like. I mean, my opinion about him hanging around with shady people, you might think otherwise and think the people he's hanging around with are good people. But that's Seth's track record. Farmer to Win says, Nick Barris, NC 526 at 8:54 p.m. says, no one has been cleared. Okay. So if Nick Barris, I have to look into that. Has law enforcement come out and say no one has been cleared? Is the Proudfoots lying about being cleared? Are they lying? Are the Proudfoots lying about being cleared? Let's get Magnolia in the chat to discuss more. I want to know what's going on here. Why can't we get the truth here? Are they cleared or not? And if they're not cleared, then why did they say in court documents that they were cleared? Are they cleared or not? They're not cleared. Hello, Magnolia.
Hello, good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Are the Proudfoots cleared or not cleared, Magnolia?
Yeah, the big question. So, yeah, we kind of went over this and we looked through some things. There's been several posts, on Facebook, various places, including from Seth's own sister. So, first of all, the first one, the earliest date that we can see is March 3rd. Chris and Katie went on Dutch's show and had stated that they had been fully vetted and cleared by law enforcement. And that information was then reported by Nick Barris. And then you have March 8th, the day after the landfill search, Seth's sister saying that she got a call from Seth saying that the Proudfoots had been cleared. Now, going back to that, I mean, I just think that those dates are important to look at because, the landfill search was on March 7th. Mm-hmm. And the purpose of that search was to look through the trash from the Proudfoot home because the trash had been picked up. They were able to find out where it was sent. They actually spoke to the trash truck driver. He told them where in the landfill that neighborhood's trash was. He took them and showed them. They searched it. That's why the search was so quick. I went back and reviewed some other reports at the time, and the reason it only took them like a day or so to do the search is because they were able to get the trash truck driver himself, and he was able to show them exactly where that neighborhood's trash was.
Well, Magnolia, let me cut you off a second. With the landfill search, it was dealing with, and there's reports that they went to multiple landfills, but the one in question that hit the media, the one in question was dealing with the landfill in Kentucky, and it appears that was dealing with the trash from the construction site in the neighborhood next door to where the Proudfoots live. In that neighborhood, because that neighborhood trash is commercialized because they're building homes there. In that particular neighborhood, the trash goes to Kentucky, while the Proudfoots neighborhood goes to a landfill in either Davison County or Gallatin, somewhere in that area, relatively close. But when they were searching the landfill, they were searching the one in Kentucky due to the fact that site, the neighborhood behind them. But they made multiple landfill searches, but that was one that they were focused on. So I just want to put that out there because it was dealing with, it appears, but that's how they reported it. To me, I'm a little bit suspect about what trash goes where, whatever. And the fact that they checked landfills affiliated with trash, I mean, that's important here.
Yeah, so WKRN on March 8th posted an article that said, the Sumner County Sheriff's Office said a search of the Kentucky landfill did not provide any additional clues as to what happened to Sebastian. The search for Sebastian took investigators to Kentucky on Thursday, March 7th, where investigators searched a landfill. According to the Sumner County Sheriff's Office, the landfill in Kentucky is where trash went from Sebastian's neighborhood in the beach area. Officials called the search of the landfill a precautionary measure to eliminate possible options and questions. Okay, so the purpose of that search at the landfill was to eliminate possibilities. So that's why they went there. And the search didn't take very long, like I said, because they were able to speak to the driver himself. He was able to show exactly where they needed to look for what they were searching for, and they were not able to find anything. So the entire purpose of that landfill search, again, was meant to eliminate possibilities. And we discussed this before. When you do an investigation, you don't just start looking at all these different theories and chasing down certain theories. That's not how investigations work. The way it works is you have to eliminate possibilities. You have to basically make an effort to debunk your own theory. So if there's a theory that something transpired in the home or with the garbage at the land or the construction site there in the neighborhood, they need to debunk that. So they set out to debunk this. Yes, the process of elimination. So that's how investigations are conducted, is you have to eliminate all possibilities until you reach the truth. So that was the purpose of that search in the landfill. And I just think that the timing is very interesting because they came out and said, on or about March 7th, that they didn't find anything at the landfill. And then the very next day, Seth's sister says she got a call from Seth saying that they were cleared. So I think you have to look at the timing when you are considering whether Seth was making it up or she was making it up, because to me it seems like they may have actually eliminated the possibility of foul play in the home with that search. So now, as far as people saying, well, law enforcement never clears anybody before the yeah, that may be. We have seen cases where law enforcement does clear people. I've heard people say, well, I've never heard of a case where law enforcement cleared anybody. But we watched the Moscow 4 case where they systematically cleared people one by one, starting with the roommates, the boyfriend, the DoorDash driver, the private driver that brought home Kaylee and Maddie. So law enforcement does clear people sometimes publicly, sometimes not. So I don't really, that argument is kind of moot to me when people say that. But, you know, I just think the timing of that post from Seth's sister right after the landfill search is interesting. Also, these documents that have come out, I don't know who, I think it's weird that these documents from Chris's custody agreement have been leaked. I don't understand how that could be. If they are sealed documents, they're, you know, relating to a minor child under seal. You know, most family court documents are sealed. You know, we had the affidavit from Katie that she wrote with allegations against Seth. We also never posted that on our channel because, you know, these are family court records. And anyway, somehow they got leaked, these documents from Chris's case. I don't know how that happened, because if it's sealed, it seems that the only ones that would have access to that would be Nina and Chris. And so I don't know who this person is that's leaking these things. They were also leaked incomplete. They were like these little snippets, chopped up. But you get the gist when you look at it. I mean, it says that, you know, in these filings, they're basically saying that, yes, there's a missing teenager, but Chris and Katie Proudfoot are not suspects. They're not accused of wrongdoing, and there's no foul play suspected, which is true. I feel like the sheriff's department has consistently said they don't have evidence of foul play. So this was entered into the court case with the custody of Faith. So I also think that's a really big clue, though, because if Chris Proudfoot or Katie or both were actively considered suspects in the disappearance of Sebastian Rogers, how's a judge going to give them custody of a child? That, to me, should have been a clue at the time when he was awarded custody. But I think it's just another thing that people overlooked when it comes to, like, who they suspect in this case. So there's been a series of those things all throughout this case that people have just overlooked, whether it's because of their own bias, or maybe they just don't look at all the facts, or maybe they have an emotional opinion about something. But there's been a whole series of things that have been overlooked. I feel like if Chris was a danger, or Katie was a danger to a child, I can't see a judge awarding them custody for the entire summer.
Yeah, I mean, I would think that the law enforcement in Sumner County, TBI, FBI would intervene and tell a judge, no way, they're suspects. No, you know, no child would be safe around them, considering this, and deny that. But the fact that they got it, and, you know, people were outraged, you know, when they saw the photos of Katie in a restaurant with Faith, you know, at that, I think it was the Mexican restaurant that we ate at, Magnolia. You know, people taking pictures of Katie, saying Katie's with Faith, and everyone's like, oh my God, Faith is in danger and everything like that. But apparently, you know, the Proudfoots, through a lawyer, have convinced the judge that they're not suspect. I think that's part of it, right? That they're not suspects. They've been cleared. They use the words, they've been cleared. That's the words they've been used. They've been cleared, and they should get custody of Faith. And the judge gave them custody of Faith for the summer.
Yeah, and so the way I read in the document, the way I read it was Nina actually had accused them of wrongdoing, or put in her filings that they were suspected of something with Sebastian. And so in the leaked screenshot, it's basically they're refuting that accusation, and they're saying that is not true. This is, she's accusing us of these things, but this is simply not true, because there is no foul play, etc. So it was something that Nina was trying to use against Chris, which, for people paying attention, that's what Nina has done this whole time. I mean, she came out fairly early on, she went on with, I think it was Trevor Lee, right? And
we shared the interview.
put on a whole performance. Yeah, we showed it on our channel. A lot of people were very sympathetic to her, but for me, when I watched it, I was a little bit mortified, to be honest. I expressed it at the time.
You expressed it to me. You expressed it to me. You didn't really want me. We'll be honest here, Magnolia. You didn't really want me to play that.
No, I did not want to air it. And the only reason we did is because, like, ultimately it was something that was happening at the time, and it seemed newsworthy for that reason. But I found the whole thing to be unseemly. I didn't like that. It was very clear to me that Nina was someone with an axe to grind, and she was capitalizing on Sebastian's disappearance in order to get revenge on Chris. That's how I saw it on its face at the time, and that's still what I think. And so I've always thought that Nina was using the situation to her advantage, and clearly that's what she's done. Even in these court filings, she has used it to accuse Chris to try to keep his daughter from him. So I don't really, and we talk about these like allegations and hearsay and divorce records, and a lot of the reason we don't really, we never showed Katie's affidavit on our channel either.
We showed some court documents, but not all of them. That, there was some really damaging stuff that we never showed.
Right, because, when you're going through a divorce, it's all hearsay, unless there are, police records and different things like that to go along with it, charges filed, convictions for something, unless you have those types of documents and proof of things, it's very hard for me as a journalist to report that stuff, Now, we can report that this is what's being said, but I'm certainly not going to report as fact something that's never been litigated, or there's never been charges, convictions, etc., and so on. But, just to get the information out there is important, I suppose. But
well, here, let me just time out here a minute, because again, a lot of when it comes to that divorce stuff and the allegations of abuse and different things, that's he said, she said, right? So if we want to get into that logic, we're like, okay, if we want to believe Nina that Chris was doing all those things, then we have to believe Katie that Seth was doing all those things to Katie and Sebastian, because Katie filed Seth. You know what I'm saying? Like, if we have to believe Nina,
well, listen,
then we have to believe Katie's allegations against Seth.
No, and you can believe what Nina said. Now, you can sit there and watch her interview, and you can believe everything she said. And, maybe from her perspective, this is how she feels. This is her perspective. This is what happened to her. This is her experience. She has every right to share her experience, and that's what she did.
Yep.
So to me, it's not something I would have done. I would never go on a YouTube channel and air my dirty laundry and talk about my child, but that's what she chose to do. That's her decision. She has every right to do it.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying she didn't have the right to do that interview. She has every right to do that interview. But at the same time, I'm not going to be blinded by the fact that she's giving us one side of the story, and it takes two. So she never, all of her story was told from her own perspective, her own experience. We never had the other side to all of that. And one thing that I will say is one of the biggest issues that she had with Chris and his mother was she was saying that they took her baby. They did all these things to take her baby, and the judge gave the baby to Chris. Well, it's, you have to kind of look at that and say, how common is it for a judge to take a baby from a mother and give the baby to a father in another state? So there has to be
money's a factor. Money's a factor.
Well, there has to be more to it that we aren't getting. And my point is just that it was all one-sided. It was her experience, and we weren't there during the marriage. We don't know what happened. You know what I mean? So we can judge and we can have our opinions, but at the end of the day, this is her story to tell. It's not our story to tell. If Chris had wanted to come out and tell his side, he certainly could have done that too, but I guess he didn't want to do that. So, you just have to kind of look at it from like an outside perspective and not really sit here and take sides, I guess. But it's just definitely Nina took the situation with Sebastian. She tried to use that as part of her reasons for the judge not giving custody to Chris. But at the end of the day, it didn't work because Chris got the child.
Well, I think everything is a case by case. So, maybe some of her stuff is true, maybe some of it's not, but we didn't really hear the other side. And we didn't even really hear, the other side with this situation too, between these two. But yeah, there's always, motives for people to file these things on one another. But you raised great points. At the end of the day, the child was put in Chris's hands.
Yeah. So, and yeah, Bayou Babe says Nina had an agenda. Yes, that's my point. So you just have to remember that when you hear someone talk about a relationship or things that went wrong in a relationship, you just have to remember that it's, they have their own interests at heart, right? So I'm not saying she's lying or any of that. I don't know what the truth is. I know what she said, and she seemed very upset. But and then people in here saying, well, I've obviously never been in a abusive relationship. Well, y'all don't know anything about me. You have no idea what I've been through in my life. So that's ridiculous to say. All I'm saying is that you have to take these things with a grain of salt when it comes to divorces, because people throw all kinds of accusations around during a divorce. Yeah.
So going back to Proudfoot's being cleared. Well, thank you for sharing, Magnolia, about the Proudfoot's being cleared. Your thoughts? Do you think they're cleared?
Well, I kind of do. I think that law enforcement still has said that they don't suspect foul play, or they don't have evidence of foul play, is the way they keep saying it. So, and I do think, I've said this before, I think that the law enforcement's main theory is still that Sebastian may have wandered off and that he'll eventually be found one day. I feel like they've never fully eliminated that possibility. So I think that they're still really looking at that as what could have happened here. Now I don't know if I agree with that. I've always had a really hard time picturing Sebastian wandering off on his own, being picked up on any cameras. There were also a lot of searches done in that immediate area. Now maybe they need to do more searches.
Yep.
But
Magnolia, Seth has been saying that in his lips he's a suspect. Seth, he's the only one out of the group of people saying that he's a suspect.
Yeah, and
so Seth must know something here that
so weird.
Exactly,
yeah,
like he wants to be clear.
You kind of have to put it all together. It's like, because he told us right away when we went to Hendersonville that he's a suspect, and he's been saying it this whole entire time. I mean, you have a whole entire campaign out here trying to clear Seth. They had a protest and everything to clear his name. And it's interesting because he's the only one we've ever heard say that, right? So it kind of gives more weight to this post by the sister, because if he's going around saying, I'm a suspect, I haven't been cleared, why won't they clear me? And at the same time saying they have been cleared, it sort of just gives more weight to that.
He's saying that the Proudfoot's been cleared.
Yeah, and and you said it earlier, I've never heard the Proudfoots accuse Seth. Have you?
Publicly, no.
I can't think of any time
they've never said we believe Seth Rogers did something with Sebastian. They've never said they've never publicly that I've heard the Proudfoot say Seth Rogers is responsible for what happened to Sebastian. Seth Rogers kidnapped Sebastian. Seth Rogers is. They never said that. They never said Seth's a suspect. I've never heard them say that.
Right. It's really always just come from Seth that he's a suspect or he's not cleared is another word he uses. But so it's just strange. It's strange to me, and I do think it's interesting that although we have heard I think Chris did talk bad about Seth at times when he was going on these different YouTube channels. I think he kind of did diss him a little bit, and we did see some animosity between the two of them at that one vigil or whatever that event was where Chris walked up to Seth.
I said the other day, and we did a live, and I was talking about that. Just remember this. Right before when Chris confronted Seth at that event, right? In that picture, that picture that's circulating, it seems like Chris is over top of Seth. Remember, Seth just days prior went on national TV and said that the Proudfoots are Sebastian was bad things happened to Sebastian in their house, like Sebastian lost his innocence. We'll use that word. Inside their house, and they're responsible. Like, he was literally going on national TV saying some very, very strong, allegations, whether they're true or not, against the Proudfoots. And I think possibly now looking at this, is Chris really confronted Seth about that and said, shut your mouth, dude.
Yeah, and I think, going back to what I said before, a lot of this stuff that we see people put out here and we hear people say, it's directly relating to the children. And I don't think that you should go on TV or YouTube and air such personal, private things about your child. If that happened, and I think that Chris and Katie actually did address it after he put that out there. They had said that the child in question was younger than what Seth said, and also that they did get Sebastian therapy for that situation. But I mean, why did it need to be put out there in the first place? That was just kind of gross to me. But yeah, and that could also be what.
Well, his mom
Chris
said it
to him that day. Like, why would you do that? Like, stop talking about these things. Because a mother wouldn't want that out there about Sebastian,
Well, not only that, but also Seth's mom was saying some crazy stuff, and we played the post. We showed the post over and over. Like at the beginning, that first couple months, Seth's mom was going at Chris and Katie publicly, hard, and everyone was feeding off that.
Mhm. Yeah, they were, but at the same time, Chris has thrown shade on Seth a little bit here and there.
But he's never accused Seth of a crime.
Mainly to do with his character is kind of what he has said. He's thrown shade on Seth's character overall. But they've never come out and been like, oh, Seth did something, or Seth hurt Sebastian, or any of that stuff. So, but Seth, on the other hand, has repeatedly and pretty
till this day
he thinks Katie did something to Sebastian. I mean, he even got very specific in a couple of those tellings when one time he said that he thought Katie gave him too much sleeping medicine. I mean, he just said it flat out, and he's said it repeatedly that he thinks that Chris and Katie did something to Sebastian. But at the same time, he runs around saying that he's a suspect and his devices haven't been returned yet. and he needs
law
to be
enforcement's
cleared.
not talking to him at all, while law enforcement's talking to the Proudfoots. I just don't. It's just so weird, but it's starting to make. I mean, now over time, it's starting to make a little bit of sense here. I'm not saying that Seth did something with Sebastian. And, if law enforcement, let me just make this clear too. If law enforcement comes out and says Seth Rogers didn't do anything to Sebastian, I'm going to believe law enforcement.
Yeah.
I'm going to believe if law enforcement comes out and says the Proudfoots and all of them are cleared, then we should all believe it. I think we should all believe it. If law enforcement says it, I'll be the first one if law enforcement says this guy's cleared or this guy didn't do nothing to Sebastian. I'd be the first person to report it.
Yeah.
But there's been significant damage that has been done, that has been put out, particularly at the beginning stages. But it's still going on. It's still going on, but it seems like it's going on his end, not their end.
Mm-hmm. Well, someone in the chat said that they can't ignore what the neighbor said about Sebastian sleeping in the garage. So that's another thing. That's another thing we should talk about, because we talked about this in the last couple of days. We've kind of just been going back through and kind of thinking about all the different allegations that have been made and the different narratives that have been put out there since the beginning. And one of the things that had people really suspecting Chris and Katie was this rumor that they had Sebastian sleeping in the garage. But let's go back and think about that, because where did that rumor come from exactly? Like, who said that in the first place? A neighbor? Which neighbor? Have they ever come on the record and said that? Or was it just a post on social media where someone said, a neighbor said Chris made him sleep in the garage, and then everyone just took it and ran with it? I think that that's happened a lot of times in this case with various things. And yeah, well, why would the neighbor lie? Well, what neighbor? Who's the neighbor? Has anyone ever seen the neighbor? Has anyone spoken to the neighbor? Has the neighbor provided any evidence of that statement? So, that's just another thing. So that someone said that, and then everyone just believed it, including us. I think we even did a whole video about the mattress in the garage, wondering, where did the mattress come from? Did he buy a new mattress? Did he have to replace another mattress? Remember, there was a whole thing, and we really dug into it. Of course, we never found any evidence that he was ever made to sleep in the garage, but it was something that was said, and because people had already had this opinion formed, because most people early on were kind of locked in on the Proudfoot, and so any rumor that you heard kind of just went into that column of they're guilty. Well, but if you think about the different things, I mean, where was that ever proven?
Going back, man, it really looks like, to me, it's like Proudfoots gave they gave that original interview on national media or local media the first time, that 4-part, it was in like 4 parts that they put it out, and some people were believing them, some weren't, right? Mm-hmm. Some people were like, something's going on, and some people were like, their dad's acting, doing the body language, typical stuff like that. But it seems like it really started on the Proudfoots as far as being guilty. The Proudfoot is when Seth's family started posting in the Facebook groups, particularly his mom, blaming the Proudfoots. Flat out. He told me stuff in secrecy. Chris Proudfoot, we're not afraid of you. We know Katie's hiding stuff, all this stuff. And it almost just lit a match. It just incited everybody. And then everyone just used their original video and just went at him. Full blast, including us.
Yeah, so one theory that I've heard on the mattress in the garage thing, one thing that I've heard is that the rumor was originally started by an associate of Nina, actually. That's one thing that I've heard. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but there's apparently someone out there who claims to be the best friend of Nina. I think she goes by Maggie Espinoza, something like that. I don't know how to spell it, but I've heard that there's this person out there that puts information out. So that's another thing that I think we have to really think about and consider, because we have, again, I keep going back to the Jeffrey Chow case. Allison Chow, we just saw this. We literally just saw this play out when this was a bitter custody battle between Jeffrey and the mother, Annie. And as we're reporting on the story, what did we come across? We came across literal bots on Twitter in support of Annie Chow. There was like a whole army of them. So, you know,
it's a battle of a PR campaign. It's a PR campaign.
Yeah. So it's easy to put a rumor out and get it to spread, and it's easy to do these things. But, you know, just looking back, I think sometimes I told you earlier that a lot of this stuff reminds me of watching the movie Fight Club. Like, you watch the whole entire movie, and then at the end of the movie, you realize everything you just watched was not real. And you're like, wait, what just happened? And then you go back to the beginning of the movie and rewatch it to see all the signs you missed, that everything was not real. So it kind of gives me that same sensation when I sit here and I kind of deconstruct like my own bias throughout this case, because I know in the very beginning when we first started this case, one really big thing that was a factor at the time, we had all just experienced the Madeline Soto situation. Literally the week right before Chris and Katie did their first interview, you know, Maddie and Sebastian went missing the same day on February 26th, the morning of February 26th. But in Madeline's case, it progressed much more quickly than Sebastian's did. So we had just been through that week where we watched Jen Soto and Stephen Stearns sitting there doing this interview side by side. We watched Stephen crying. We watched her consoling him, only to find out, like the next day, that Stephen was literally her abuser and her killer. And her body was found at the end of the week. Just a few days later is when we all sat down and we watched the first interview with Chris and Katie. And at the time, we were fresh off of what had just happened with Jen and Stephen, and all of us in the chat, we did a StreamYard, we live streamed it, and all of us in the chat were judging the body language, the behavior, and making comparisons to Jen Soto and the stepdad in that case. Well, they weren't married, but same dynamics there with the mother and the stepdad. And the stepdad was the guilty one. So I think from the very beginning, and I know I'm guilty of this too, because I looked at it through that lens as well. Like, oh, well, it's the stepdad. What's going on with all these stepdads? Why are these women putting their kids in danger with these men they don't know? Remember, like, we all had that perception. Our minds were very clouded with what we just went through with Madeline's case. And so I think that was early on, that was a big factor here. And I think people forget that. And so we kind of all started out immediately like suspicious. We were like, I remember people in the chat were like, oh, Katie won't even look at Chris. She knows he did something. And why isn't Chris consoling her? And everyone was making these comments and like so suspicious, right? And then from that point forward, it was like everything we heard that was negative about the Proudfoots, we were like, oh, they did something to Sebastian. And Chris hated Sebastian. He didn't want Sebastian in the house and all these things, you know. So then every little thing that happened, every incident that developed over time, we all looked at it as like, oh, they're guilty, they're guilty, they're guilty. But then it's been 6 months, and I kept saying, you know, in recent weeks, like, maybe we should just go back, because there's things that never made sense to me. But at the time, I just kind of brushed it off, like things that Seth would say, or things that he did, or an interview here and there. And certain things just never really added up to me or you. Like when he would go on TV and he would say, you know, Katie did something to Sebastian or whatever. So it's just been, I think, a series of things that didn't make sense. We kind of overlooked it, and I felt like it would be a good idea to kind of go back and just review things and kind of see, like, well, where did some of these rumors even start? Like, where did this information actually come from in the first place? Because I think it's clear what we've seen in this case is that everybody has an agenda. Everyone has an agenda here. And at the end of the day, the agenda should only be Sebastian. It should be to find Sebastian. And so I think it's important just to take a step back, look at the facts, and try to see through our own bias and say, you know, maybe we don't know everything. We think we're experts. We all think we're like true crime experts and we know it all, but maybe we don't. We weren't there, right? So it's just important to go through the facts as you know them, and it's important just to, you know, just in their own words, you know, Seth in his own words, he's saying, I'm a suspect, I'm never cleared, what's going on? And then on the other side, you have the Proudfoots have more or less kind of disappeared in a way. Like, you don't really see them all the time. You know what I mean?
Well, it seems like, let me just say this, man. Again, I don't believe any of them until law enforcement comes out with something. You know, until law enforcement says they've been cleared, they can say they're cleared. Hopefully a journalist watches this, like Nick Barris or one of them, and goes and gets clarification from you know, law enforcement to put out on the record that they have not been cleared. Because if they're not been cleared, then the Proudfoots have been lying by saying that they're cleared. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, to catch a Proudfoots in a lie, it seems like we've caught Chris in a lot of lies, right? So they're not truthful, but not truthful doesn't make people criminals, being not truthful, right? With Seth, my situation with Seth is I try my best to understand Seth. I really do. And I want to think that he did not do nothing with Sebastian. I want to think that. To me, he's an odd bird, right? And sometimes he just shoots off with his mouth and just says things. And the pattern of these behaviors, I'm not saying they're suspicious. I'm just saying the pattern of his past statements and interviews, maybe that's just the way he is, and he's just an oddball in how he says things. I mean, he uses a lot of word salad. That doesn't make anyone a criminal by using word salad per se, right? But it just, stories are all over the map and strange, but maybe that's just how he is. And maybe the reason why law enforcement has not given him information, like he claims he's not getting information, is because he shoots off with his mouth so much. And law enforcement can't trust to tell him anything because he just talks. He just goes blah, 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 and says anything and starts this crazy stuff. He's caused a lot of problems for the Proudfoots in reference to the allegations that he put out on the record. Like, literally aired them on national TV against the Proudfoots, almost like, again, lighting a match. Setting the wolves at the Proudfoots. He's done it. His mom's done it. So maybe law enforcement's like, yo, we're not telling this dude anything anymore because this dude's just going to create another uproar and create a circus to make it even more of a circus.
Yeah, well, and that's another thing. It's like you said, it lit a fire. Everyone, you know, they hear these blatant accusations against the Proudfoots, and it's kind of hard to not take that seriously, right? He's saying he thinks that they did something just flat out, and so it's kind of difficult.
But then he's now saying that the law enforcement's corrupt. He's literally calling the investigated sheriff names blatantly, and his crew of people around him continue to do that, which is just mind-boggling to me. Because what if Sebastian was just wandered off and the Proudfoots aren't involved? How are they corrupt? How is law enforcement corrupt if Sebastian generally just walked out and left? Where's the corruption?
Right. Well, I think you're right, though, when it comes to law enforcement not communicating with Seth, and he said that himself. We're not coming up with that on our own. He has said that they don't talk to him, and I think that you're right that a big part of that, and probably the main reason for that, is that they don't trust that he's not going to go out and tell whatever it is he tells, whatever they tell him, that he's not going to immediately go out and repeat it. And we saw that with Stephen's office. They were not telling Steve hardly anything at the time, and he was angry about it. But they, in fairness, they had reason to not tell him things because it's an active investigation. They don't want to damage the integrity of the case, things like that. And Steve had shown multiple times that he was very emotional and he would just say things. And remember that one time he was like, he didn't have to go up the stairs, and he was saying these things so they do kind of hold back information if the parent seems like they're going to just go repeat everything. So
then also the alliance with Tony.
It could really just be that they are afraid he'll repeat what they tell him. That could be all it is.
Could that at all? But I also think Tony in the mix is also a play here. I definitely think Tony in the mix. Law enforcement is fully aware of Tony. They know about Tony's background, and they just were like, we're not dealing with these people.
Yeah.
If we want to release something, we will. But at that point, or is there something more to it? Or is there really something more to it? He's flat out saying, I'm a suspect. So did law enforcement tell him out of their mouth that, hey, Seth, you're a suspect?
I know. That's because where else would he come up with that?
He said it multiple times, multiple media reports out there claiming that he said it. It's not, the media is not claiming that law enforcement said Seth is a suspect. What people are reporting on, just like we have, is Seth said it out of his own mouth.
Yeah,
that he's a suspect, but this hasn't been validated, and he might not even be a suspect. He just wants to say that for whatever reason.
Yeah, I don't know why he would want to say it if it wasn't true, because that's just odd. But yeah, you're right. The only person who's ever said Seth's a suspect is Seth, and he's been saying it the whole time. And that's how come I think you do have to put some weight on that post that his sister made on March 8th, saying she got a call from Seth saying that the Proudfoots were cleared, and yet a week and a half later we went to town and he told us he was not cleared. It was in the same proximity of time that on the one hand his sister saying they were cleared, and then he saying he wasn't cleared. So it's coming from him directly.
Yeah, telling us, is he jealous because the Proudfoots? Is he jealous that media has said that Proudfoots are claiming that they've been cleared, and he's trying to get that same validation? I don't understand it. Or is there generally something going on behind the scenes? Because again, as this case has progressed, more and more people around there have been distancing themselves from Seth. Seth has said some very bizarre things that cannot be overlooked in this case. It cannot. Trash truck. Trash truck is one of the big ones. Trash truck. Now, yesterday in my chat, I was talking about Chris and trash trucks. Chris never said anything about trash truck, correct?
Well, I think Chris discussed the possibility of a trash truck when he was on a YouTube channel one time. But he said, I forget the date, March 14th, I think it was. He went on a YouTube channel, which March 14th would have been right around the time that the trash truck video had been released. I think
not the trash truck video, the light video. It's just
the light video had been released right around that time. And so he went on a show on a panel and said someone had asked about the lights, and he said, oh yeah, that was looked into by law enforcement, and it was a floodlight and a motion light, which might be why subject 2, because it had subject 1, subject 2 on the video, and he said subject 2 kept flashing, and it was most likely like a motion light. So that's what he said right away.
And he would have got that information from Katie, because Seth is at the time where Seth's claiming it's a trash truck. Wasn't it at the time where Seth and Katie went in and reviewed footage with law enforcement, where Seth came out and said, well, they told me it's a trash truck?
Right, they did. A little bit later is when I think they actually saw the video itself. But yeah, so it seemed as though this discussion had been had with law enforcement, and law enforcement told them, we believe it's this. We don't believe there's any evidentiary value. And law enforcement came out very quickly and said that publicly as well.
But they never came out and said it was a trash truck.
Right, but then you had Seth turn around and come out and say it was a trash truck, like out of nowhere. So that's just odd.
It's completely odd. And the fact that he gets so mad about it, like it's fake news, that those lights are out there. Like,
yeah,
people are going to speculate, but what they could be. But Seth's saying it as a statement of fact, it's a trash truck, while Chris seems like he got the information from Katie that it was a what did you say, a strobe light? Two different lights? Floodlight?
Yeah, floodlight would be on constantly, and then a motion light would only come on if there's some sort of movement. And I think like even a cat can set them off. So yeah, that's what they.
Well, what if law enforcement did tell Seth it was a trash truck just to throw him off? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going to give you guys, law enforcement can lie to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Interrogations and speaking to people, they lie all the time,
Yeah.
But they haven't, the law enforcement hasn't said anything to the public about being a trash truck. So the trash truck lights, to me, is a big, big mystery, because, I don't believe they were trash truck. To me, looking at them, there's no way. We've interviewed the neighbors, a neighbor, and I also spoke to another neighbor off the record. This neighbor does not want to come on. This neighbor doesn't want all the drama and everything like that. The neighbor feels like, the neighbor says, I have a few neighbors around there that were just telling me things, right? One went on the record, great. She did great, Bobby. I feel she was truthful. And she shared that no trash trucks go in that neighborhood at 3:30 a.m.
Well, I mean, first of all, to me, my opinion, it's not even worth discussing because it's ludicrous. The idea that there's a trash truck in a residential neighborhood at 3 in the morning or 3:30 in the morning is ridiculous. Like, to me, it was never even worth discussing. And I just thought it was so bizarre that so many people kept saying it and repeating it over and over and over. And it's like, it's not a trash truck. Like, what is this? So, yeah, to me, yeah, so people are saying about Chris. Yeah, so Chris went on a YouTube channel and discussed the possibility of it being a trash truck. But what I'm telling you is, immediately following the release of the light video, Chris Proudfoot said law enforcement told them there was nothing to it, and they thought it was probably floodlight and motion light. That's what he said right away at the time when the video came out. I think he did over time entertain questions from YouTubers asking about it, and he discussed it. I've seen where he discussed it with people, but at the very beginning, right at the start, he said that it was, he just repeated what law enforcement said.
Okay, so Magnolia, if you were in Seth's shoes, now Proudfoots are claiming they got cleared. So they want everyone to know they've been cleared. Whether we believe that or not, that, I don't know. Until law enforcement says it, I'm not going to believe it. If you were in Seth's shoes and you wanted, if you wanted to be cleared or get cleared, what would you do to get yourself cleared? If you were in Seth's shoes, how would you go about that? Like, what would you do?
Well, I wouldn't go all over creation telling everyone I'm a suspect. That's for sure.
So he basically shot himself in the foot on that aspect.
Well, yeah, what's the point? Like, why would you, like, why? I don't understand that. Even if, let's say, even if he was told directly by law enforcement, we think you're a suspect. Let's say that happened. I doubt that it did, but let's say it did. Why would you then go broadcast that to the entire world?
But I've always said, like,
Like,
you know, he's like with his cases, like he's like basically demanding the FBI take over this case. We want to better investigate, or we want to hire investigative agencies. So would a suspect want that? Would a suspect,
No.
you know, like want that? But so what I'm saying is nothing to hide. Like he's just saying, hey, I want to be cleared. I want to be cleared. I want to be cleared. I didn't do nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Because this is why I will never understand this with this guy. Like, I don't know, you know, and he's supposedly works for law enforcement. He's like, his resume shows that he worked for different security agencies and whatnot, you know, all these years, Allied and that Gamma World and you know, the armed security out there in California that sued him, Davidson County Sheriff. I mean, he should know better. But in a sense, like these crazy decisions, but maybe that's just how he is. Doesn't make him a criminal, but it's just, to me, it's like red flags. Like there's red flags in a sense of the way he's doing things to try to clear his name as a suspect. Seems fishy to me. But again, people behave however they behave. At the end of the day, maybe Sebastian just ran away and he generally didn't do nothing. None of them did nothing.
Yeah. Yep, and, you know, as far as I can tell, that is still their main theory that they have never been able to debunk, because even the most recent updates have said that they have no evidence of foul play.
But they never said no evidence of a kidnapping.
Yeah, but then, dun dun dun, the FBI comes out with a $50,000 reward and puts him on the most wanted kidnapping list.
Well,
I mean, these are mixed signals if I've ever seen them.
And not only that, but they actually, that's what they were calling on. Him and Tony were like, the FBI, we want the FBI to have an elevated case. But basically now they got what they asked for. They got this reward. I don't think they were expecting to happen. He claims that he was working with the FBI to get that happen, but I think that was a lie. I think that was a lie because, you know, the FBI is working a partner with Sumner County Sheriffs and he's trashing them. So I don't see him working with the FBI to get that reward out. That's what the FBI decided to do. Now you elevate the case. But what I find so interesting about this is the day it was announced, this guy was in just an emotional craziness that day in the media. He gave an interview. He was like, my life is a tilt-a-wheel. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Like, are you a little bit paranoid now that the FBI's jumped on this case? That you've been calling it, now you get what you asked for, and now you got it.
Yeah, I know. Well, some people think that the FBI reward was nothing more than like a 6-month token gesture type of thing, to keep the case out there and to keep developing tips and things like that, which is possible. You know, so it's hard to believe that
it's a lot of money.
You know, if they genuinely thought he just ran away, like, why would you have a $50,000 reward? But, you know, we're reading a lot into it because we don't know what LE knows, so we just kind of have to read into it. But it is interesting just the way that it all transpired.
The Proudfoots are dealing with personal issues about being harassed. Apparently there's going to be a court hearing in a couple weeks. Some people are speculating that in that court hearing it will be revealed how law enforcement really views the Proudfoots in this situation right now. What I'm hearing is that Proudfoots, maybe even detectives or Sumner County sheriffs will testify in this hearing and label to the judge whether the Proudfoots are a victim in this whole thing or, you know, not a suspect in this thing, to give the judge some perspective. Because if in this court hearing, if it's revealed that the Proudfoots are suspects or haven't been cleared or suspects, then, you know, people do have the right to talk about the case in a sense, you know, and it's because they're suspects. So what I'm saying is there could be some things that are revealed in the next few weeks in reference to how law enforcement feels about the Proudfoots.
Yeah.
And we'll...
someone earlier was saying, why are we bashing Steve Gonzalez? I'm not bashing Steve Gonzalez. Steve is a dear friend of ours.
We communicate with him all the time. Steve, nice guy. We love Steve Gonzalez.
Steve
America's
knows,
dad.
and he's fully aware of why they didn't give him information. He knows the reason why, and we don't fault him for that. Just to be clear, I don't fault Steve for doing anything he did. I think the way he responded was exactly what he should have done, because his daughter was just murdered and these other 3 kids were just murdered, and everyone can understand his frustration at the time. But in hindsight, we all understand now, looking back, why law enforcement didn't give him key information about the case, about the suspect that they were looking for. And Steve himself understands that. So no one's bashing Steve. We're just using it as a comparison as to why maybe law enforcement wouldn't be giving information to Seth, because it's the same thing. Not that they're similar people in any way, shape, or form, but the one similarity is that Seth tends to immediately repeat anything that he's told. So they want to protect the integrity of the investigation, and it's fully understandable. What's not understandable is the way he constantly attacks them and brings it up to this level where he's literally accusing the entire department of corruption. He's calling the sheriff names. I mean, that's where you have to draw, like, you can understand a parent's frustration, and I talked about this the other day, but you have to draw the line somewhere. And going out here and accusing an entire sheriff's department of being corrupt just because they're not giving you information is uncalled for.
It's ludicrous, considering him himself is supposed to be law enforcement. Are you kidding me? But
yeah.
nobody reputable is co-signing that nonsense.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so you could see probably why at this point law enforcement's going to just be tight-lipped on him, even if they consider this a runaway. They're just like, at this point, you know, but, you know, also too, like, we don't, look, and I had this discussion with you, Magnolia. Let's just throw this one out about custody, right? So, you know, I believe that Proudfoots had custody of Sebastian, and Seth was given weekend rights, right?
Yeah, like visitation.
So what does that mean? Because Seth says in other interviews that he was going to get Sebastian for good. I mean, is there truth to that? And how does that work? Like, who has the sole decision making here? Is it joint? How does that work?
Well, in any custody or divorce case, like I said the other day, you know, there's a whole process for that you have to go through when you're getting a divorce and there's a child involved. There's certain child support worksheets. There's different things that you're required to fill out. And it's entered into the court record. The judge makes an order and says, okay, let's say take Sebastian, for example. I haven't seen the custody agreements, but just for the sake of the discussion, let's just say Katie was given, primary physical custody, where Sebastian would live at her house during the week, and then, and for schooling purposes, because the school is there by her house, and then on the weekends he would go to Seth. So
or every other weekend or something like that.
Right. So all of that would be entered into a custody agreement that's filed with the courts. A judge signs off on. If you try to deviate from that, some parents choose to do their own thing, which is up to them. But the danger in that is if you go outside that court agreement, and let's just say like Katie decided one day, well, I'm not going to let Sebastian go to Seth's house because I don't like Seth and I don't want Sebastian at his house. Well, she can't just decide that on her own because she can get in trouble for that. You have to abide by the court orders, right? So you can't just make your own decision. Now, if she and Seth had agreed on that, that's one thing, but it's not advisable because let's say they did agree to it, and then somewhere down the line, Seth got mad and said, well, she went against the court orders or whatever. Well, then you've created a whole can of worms for yourself because you just went against the court orders. You know what I mean? So if it's in the court order, you kind of have to abide by it. So whatever that agreement was is what they're abiding by. Now, for there to be a change in custody, meaning for Sebastian to be going to live with Seth, they would have to go through the courts for that and get a new court order, so I don't think that process, that they ever went through that process to get the custody agreement changed.
Somebody said in the chat, JLR, why do you ask her legal questions? She's not a lawyer and she's got a lot of stuff wrong. Please stop. Well, guess what? Lawyers, prosecutors, they get things wrong. They don't know it all about the law. Find me a criminal defense attorney that's 100% successful. You're not.
I actually know more about the law than you think I do. It's part of my last 8 years of experience. I have a lot of experience in law, training in the law. I do understand a little bit about the law. So,
but every state also has its rules too.
And I understand custody agreements, and I understand basic things like court orders. So I think I can answer simple questions about a court order.
What I want to know about this, though, this is the mystery that we've never really understood. What transpired, like maybe a month before Sebastian went missing? What really went on between all them? Like, was there, I know Seth said that he got custody of Sebastian a few weeks before he was reported missing. Was there anything that happened, like during the course of that visit or something that triggered something, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, I want to know. And why was Chris not in that house for an extended period of time? It's just some things we still don't know with this, particularly the month of February.
Yeah, so I'll address that just because it's been put out there. This allegation has been put out there. We've seen this on SF Investigates Twitter account, and he posted it just a couple days ago. Again, I saw where a while back he had made reference to there being a call made on Seth accused and allegations of abuse by Seth towards Sebastian. And there was a thread that I had posted a couple days ago on Twitter, and there was a discussion in the comments, people going back and forth under my thread. And SF had commented, someone had asked him about providing proof of the, now I'm quoting here, produce proof of the beating you claim Seth gave Sebastian. Why is it a secret? If true, the public should be able to verify that police were called with a FOIA request. And then SF Investigates responded, they have a hold on the records related to the police being called 2 weeks before Sebastian went missing because the records are part of an ongoing investigation. You can contact them and verify that yourself. So this is something that's been put out there, this allegation that the police were called.
To Seth's house?
Yeah, so that's been put out there. Now, we've not seen any proof of that, and I don't know any details of that incident. I don't think that anyone has seen it because based on what SF is saying, this is an incident that the documents are not releasable right now. So we don't really know, but that's out there that there seems to have been something that happened between Seth and Sebastian.
Has Seth ever addressed that on YouTube or in interviews or anything? Because I haven't heard him ever mention that at all.
Yeah, that I don't know. But one thing I'll say is, you know, if that's true, if that happened, one thing that could make that part of the ongoing investigation goes back to the runaway theory, because, you know, if Sebastian ran away, there has to be a reason for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it would necessarily mean that Sebastian didn't want to live in either home for whatever reason. So if you're looking at it from that perspective, that he ran away because of alleged abuse or whatever, any type of incident or allegation, especially that recent to his disappearance, would be probably part of the investigation. So, you know, now we haven't seen that evidence, and like I said, according to what SF is saying, you have to, it's sealed, like they're not releasing this information.
But why would Sebastian run away if he had a so-called fun day on Sunday? Like, why would, like, you know, he's going out to eat, you know, the mom's describing this picture-perfect, you know, day. Why would he just run away then? Unless maybe he got a phone call, Seth, or Sebastian got a phone call. Did he get a phone call or see something and it just triggered him to run away? Or was this a planning of Sebastian? Because one thing I still don't understand is, why is the description of he dressed in all black?
Mm-hmm.
Like a ninja.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? His phone is in the kitchen. I'm sure the law enforcement analyzed this, but are we talking about just a runaway here? Like, is he running away from problems within the household towards, and if he ran away, is he running away because of running away from things from Chris and Katie, or running away from Seth, or running away from all of them? If he ran away, you got to run away. Kids run away you just don't run away because your life is good. You're running away, something's going on. So if we want to go with the runaway theory, and again, if he ran away, technically all of them should be cleared, because that's not really a crime for a child to run away. It's definitely, they're all responsible in a way, you know, morally responsible. You know, you could arguably say that there was warning signs, they didn't take precautionary measures, whatever. But criminally wise, it's not a crime to run away, is it, for a child to run away?
I think technically it's considered abduction of yourself or something like that. I think the law is kind of weird about that. But it's, if he ran away, right? It's like, if that's what happened, there has to be a reason. And now, again, though, something else I want to point out while we're talking about SF, there was another post that he had made that I wanted to share, because I've seen him say this before, regarding children with autism. Someone in this same thread, this tweet that I posted, there were tons and tons of comments that I read through. And so one of the things that SF posted in this thread, he put it in quotes, "The last one to see him was his mother." And then he says, "This needs to stop. It makes no sense. 286 autistic kids were reported missing to NCMEC. 74% of them were last seen by a parent. They are kids. There's nothing out of line by his mother being the last to see him. Autistic kids wander. It's a trait of autism. Over 50% of all autistic kids will run away before they turn 17 years old. Of course, their parents are the last to see them." So I think that statistic is interesting, because I've seen that posted before with autistic children. The rate that they run away is very high, and because it's something that they do. And we've seen this before with all of these autistic children that go missing, that we cover these cases, and oftentimes they're found in water. So,
well, two cases that we just covered. Two cases we just covered with a little boy in Texas and North Carolina. They ran away and they were found dead in the water.
Right. And so I think you also have to look at it through that perspective, the fact that Sebastian is autistic. So he naturally may have a tendency to run away, as autistic children do. So in his case, I don't feel like we can necessarily say the reason he ran away was because of his mom or his stepdad or his dad. It could have been something that he did, that he, for whatever reason,
Impulse?
wanted. Yeah, it's called eloping. Mindy said it's called eloping, which is just, they just wander off on their own. You know, so that happens. And so you have to also think about that. I mean, we know Sebastian is autistic. And, oh yeah, Salty Sabbath said autistic kids are known to run. Yes. A very common thing with autistic children is that they do tend to wander. I want to say too, I feel like that this should be, more people should know and understand this. I think there's not enough awareness out there about this danger if you're a parent of an autistic child, because we see so many that wander off and they're found in water. And I feel like if you're a parent of an autistic child, you should have these types of locks on your doors, maybe like the deadbolts that you have to have a key to unlock, something along those lines, just to make sure that they're not wandering off. But, you know, so you have to look at it from that perspective. He's autistic, and he may very well have just decided he just wanted to wander off for whatever reason. Like we talked about that day leading up to this, he had a very busy day. He was all over town doing all kinds of.
You would think he would be tired.
Things. He could be overstimulated, and sometimes when autistic children are overstimulated, they look for something that soothes them, and you know, so you have to also consider that is a component in this case.
Yeah, people are saying there's a breaking story right now, a school shooting in Florida, pretty close to us, Magnolia. Well, no, actually in Georgia. I'm sorry, Georgia. It's all Appalachia High School shooting. Another active school shooting. Very, very sad. Very, very, very sad situation. But yeah, we're going to look into the school shooting here because it looks very, very bad here right now. Reports of injuries, multiple people shot. Oh, man, that's horrible. Another one. Horrible.
Yeah, I just think, with the runaway thing, again, and Denise said this too, that to me it seems like he would have been seen on a camera or something. I mean, I don't know. Like, it's just, this whole case is such a baffling mystery, because it's like, how in the world did he get out of this house with no cameras seeing him, no nothing, no evidence, no trace? It's very, very baffling. And I understand people are very invested in this case. Clearly, we're over 6 months into it now, and people are just as concerned for Sebastian as they were on day one. No one is going to forget Sebastian anytime soon. It is just so baffling, and just, we don't know what happened. None of us knows what happened. If we did, Sebastian would have been found by now.
And maybe all three parents don't know what happened.
Yeah.
I wish, and if Seth, Seth could do a lot of things to maybe try to, win the public perception again, because he's getting a lot of people. I mean, go over, all over the place. A lot of people are calling out his behaviors and everything like that, and reviewing his videos like we're doing. I mean, it's all out there, and, maybe he should just lay out all his records on the table and just lay out a case of why he's innocent and why he should be cleared. Like, lay out with, like, proofs of correspondence. If he's claiming that, it's corruption and stuff like that, show your communications. It's not illegal. Show show everything that's going on and what transpired, and maybe people would either believe him or not believe him. You know, show what's going on, like what's going on with, you know, why you feel like you should be cleared. You know, show documents, show records, show things. You know, show things to, you know, present that, and you know, maybe he'd get more sympathetic, or maybe people would more, you know, feel like he's not involved, whatever, like that. You know, the way his tactic is doing it, because his tactic seems like it seems like, I don't know, it shifted a little bit away from Sebastian, more about him.
Yeah, and
like,
you know,
he's the show, like he wants to be the show of this craziness here.
Yeah, and I keep seeing people make comments like, JLR, you're on the wrong side of this. We're not on anyone's side.
Not on anybody's side.
I just want to make that very clear. I don't know what other channels do, or what other people do, or what someone else's agenda is. On this channel, we don't take sides on when it comes to a missing kid. Our concern is Sebastian, and that's it. We don't know these people. We don't know Chris and Katie. We don't know Seth. Just because, and I want to clear something out too, that someone said earlier, that they said, oh, well, if JLR and Magnolia were still close with the family. Let's get something straight. We were never close with the family, ever. So just because we went out there to help spread awareness and show the searches and live stream the searches and try to amplify the case, that doesn't mean we're close to a family. We don't know these people. Our job is to report a case and facts as we know them. So that's it.
And analyze what the behaviors.
No, Regina, I'm not on Chris Proudfoot's side. I don't know Chris Proudfoot. I don't know him from Adam.
And
I don't know any of these people.
And I just want to make this clear, knowing what I know now, I wouldn't want to be around any of them. even if they said JLR, open arms, I wouldn't even want to be around any of them. I'd be embarrassed, quite frankly.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna say that, but it's just.
Well, I'll say it.
Weird.
Why would I want to sit around and be associated with Seth Rogers?
And Nicole,
why would I want to sit around and be associated with Chris Proudfoot?
Nicole is saying that I've always been against Seth. That is a complete lie. I have not always been against Seth. I originally thought Katie was the key, just like almost everyone else did. So that's a complete and total lie. I met Seth. Yes, I met Seth. I was around Seth. I don't have a favorable opinion of Seth based on my own time around him, but I don't have any personal anything for any of these people. I really don't. I'm not a person who, I know how to separate my own feelings and opinions from the facts. That's what I do. I'm a journalist. So I don't sit here and take sides against this parent or that parent. I'm looking at everything that's happened over the last 6 months, and I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. Some of these things never made sense, and we just sort of brushed them off, and we never really went back and analyzed. Maybe we should go back and analyze some of these things that we've seen and heard and things that have been said, and that's what we're doing, because, again, we're over 6 months into this case. No one knows what happened here. So if you want to get to the truth, it's important to go back through everything you've seen from the beginning and kind of stack it up and say, okay, well, this was suspicious and this looks suspicious, and maybe I jumped the gun on this thing, and I have no problem saying that I was wrong about something. If I was wrong about something, I'll say it, and JLR does too. I mean, we can admit that our own bias might have played a factor here in the beginning from the start, and it's just important to go back, and be open-minded, like Doubledaw said.
Well, there's you ever hear the GoFundMe scams, like for instance, where somebody puts a really crazy sob story and everyone just starts donating and pound money, and then it ends up being a scam, like not even a true. It's just, you get wrapped in a situation when it comes to a missing kid and people's hearts, and your very first instincts is to help. And if you
Yeah.
see someone crying, like a family member crying, trying to find their missing kids, instead of really just taking a step back, your instincts is to just jump in the fray and help.
Well, you have empathy for that person. You know, you have empathy, and at the time, this was like about 3 weeks into it when we first went out there, and at the time, what we saw was Seth seemed that he needed help searching because he was out there alone. It was just him and Jaden, and maybe a couple other people up to that point.
And he called me. He called me.
Right. And so what we can do for people is amplify the story and help get awareness and more eyes on the case, and that helps bring in tips. And, you know, that's what we do. That's our role. Our role is to bring awareness, and so that's what we did. And it worked because we had a lot of people that came out and searched. A lot of people participated, and, you know, the case has stayed front and center for a lot of people this whole time. So that's our role. And you can have empathy for someone without necessarily taking sides. I think a lot of people aren't used to that, or, you know, in normal life, that's not really something that you do because, you know, you have opinions and relationships with people and things like that. But in the work of journalism, that just can't exist. You can't sit there and take sides against people. You can consider all the possibilities. And, you know, JLR and I have disagreed on this case 1,000 times. He's, you know, in the beginning, we both were like, oh, Katie's the key. And we went to Hendersonville and we drove the routes, and we drove all 3 possible routes from Texas Roadhouse. Did he even come back? You know, that's not because we're taking sides against someone. It's because we're trying to analyze all the possibilities and what makes sense here. Like, did he even ever come home from Texas Roadhouse? And then me, over time,
Well, yeah.
my perspective changed on Katie just because I went back and watched her first interview, like, with fresh eyes. And I just thought, well, you know, I don't know. To me, it seemed like she was very upset. And, you know, so I just started thinking about that. And I just came to the feeling it was hard for me to picture Katie doing something to Sebastian. So over time, my opinion changed because I'm not locked in on any one theory. I have the ability to look at different things and different perspectives and look at it from all angles. And that's what we're doing here.
Yeah. Unless, you know, they're all playing a big con game together or individually, and we're being thrown in a loop. But we're just going to continue to put the information out that they're putting out and dissect it, analyze what's going on here, and continue to, you know, progress forward. Hopefully, you know, the reward is going to make a difference. Shake some trees, get some people to come out as a criminal or run away. That's pretty much the only thing. But you know, I don't know. Maybe the Proudfoots might start coming out and speaking soon. You know, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen here. You know, they're saying that Dog the Bounty Hunter is now getting involved. There's other people that are saying that searches are going to start again. You know, the reward seems like it triggers people to jump forward because of the money. I have no problem with that, you know, and whether we have a problem with that or not, that's on people, however they want to do things and handle a situation. There's $50,000. Another individual said that they posted an additional $25,000. I don't know how much money is. I don't know how much more money there'll be. But that gets people out there, you know, looking and talking. And at the end of the day, if it finds Sebastian, you know, it finds Sebastian, or finds out what happened to Sebastian. You know, it could be somebody, Magnolia. It could be somebody, like, if Sebastian ran away, it could be one of the locals up there on one of their properties and just steps out and looks because they know $50,000 is out there. 75, 50,000, however is out there, and know there's money, and be like, I'm just gonna go look at my property in the woods and maybe we'll find Sebastian.
Yeah, and I still believe that this case will be solved eventually. I do believe that.
Yeah, and it will be interesting to see what really happened. And once we understand what happens, then we can retrack and see who was in the right and who was in the wrong in all this.
Yeah, and they'll continue doing searches based on tips and leads and things like that. If they get credible information, they'll keep doing searches. And they also, there are searches that they expect to do once the trees start to thin out, because a lot of that area around the house, like if you look on the map, especially just north of the house, there's a lot of very dense wooded area there. And a lot of STAR people think that he'll eventually be found in that area. So, you know, they'll keep doing the searches and they're not going to stop looking for him. And I really do think that they will solve it. Oh, someone said that Nick put out a statement.
Nick Barris? All right, let me see. Stay with me, folks. Stay with me. I'll see if he put out a statement. Let's see. Nick Barris. I like Nick Barris's work. Okay, so yes, he did 20 minutes ago. Let's read it together. Stay with me, Magnolia. I'm going to spin the camera around and see what he says.
Let's see. Oh, he's saying no one has been cleared.
There you go.
There you go. See what I'm saying? Nick Barris must be watching the show, because 20 minutes later he says no one has been cleared. But the Proudfoots are saying they're clear. So are we talking about Proudfoots being liars? The latest on the Sebastian Rogers case. And this is exactly what I said earlier in the thing. Remember I said, hopefully one of these media outlets can get some clarification. Unless Nick Barris, I trust Nick Barris's reporting. So let's see. It's now been more than 6 months since 15-year-old Sebastian disappeared. The Amber Alert and investigation remains active. Several of you have messaged me asking me a couple questions. I'll do my best to answer. First, some have asked if the reward for information in this case has increased. We know the FBI has posted a $50,000 reward, and there is talk that another private individual is offering an additional $25,000. I've reached out to that person but not yet heard back, so I cannot confirm. Hopefully it's true. The larger the reward, the better chances someone who knows something may come forward. I've heard that money is being raised to help put up Sebastian billboards across the country. Second, some have asked if the TBI, FBI, or Sumner County Sheriff's Office have cleared the Proudfoots, Sebastian's mother and stepfather, in the case. This may stem from something that was written in a court document. Ooh. I do not know the exact context, but I can tell you what I've been telling you all along. No one has been cleared. In this case, as authorities consider any and all possibilities, knowing new evidence could surface at any time. That being said, there are no suspects in the case. So here we go. Proudfoots. Now, Nick is also saying there's no suspects in the case. So does that mean Seth is lying when he's saying he's a suspect?
He said, yeah, in the next sentence down, he says he checks in weekly with investigators, and they tell me Chris and Katie Proudfoot and Sebastian's biological father, Seth, are not suspects. They've been questioned. Their stories vetted. There's nothing linking, absolutely no evidence linking any of them to his disappearance.
So that's interesting. Okay, so
suspicions mean nothing without evidence. So yeah,
so that's interesting.
Why is Seth running around all over town and all over the internet telling everyone he's a suspect if no one has ever been named as a suspect? According to Nick who speaks to law enforcement.
I like Nick's reporting. I think Nick has been spot on, and he's been very, he communicates with the offices, right? He communicates. He's gotten exclusives. And I have always said on this channel, if something really breaks on this case, I think we're going to hear it by Nick Barris first and on the law enforcement side of the things. But here's what's interesting. There's two things. There's two contradictions to this whole thing. We put out this video, said Proudfoot's cleared. Now we're going it based off what the Proudfoots, and we made that perfectly clear. And I said, until law enforcement says it, I don't know what to believe. But they've said in documents, Seth said it to his own sister, that the Proudfoots are cleared, and Nick Barris has reported back in the day, we showed the screenshot in the March 3rd post, that the Proudfoots have said they've been cleared. But Nick is saying today that no one has been cleared, and he's also saying that none of them are suspects. But Seth has been going on around saying that He's the suspect. And the whole gist of what they're trying to do is to get them cleared. Him cleared, his people. Or people affiliated with him. Protest. What's going on here?
Tara in the chat made a good point. She said, to be cleared, you have to be named or charged first.
Yes.
Why would law enforcement publicly clear someone who has never been named a person of interest? So,
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, that's just logical. So, yeah, so then what is Seth talking about?
So Seth is not a suspect. He's lying. And the Proudfoots are lying that they claim they've been cleared. They're all lying.
Yeah.
Unless Nick Barris is lying. You see what I'm saying? You see how this case goes? I mean, they literally said in court documents that they've been cleared. Nick is trying to say here that they have not been cleared. No one has been cleared. But at the same time, he's also saying that none of them are suspects when Seth has been saying he's a suspect.
Yeah, and well, one thing that law enforcement has been clear about is that the parents have been cooperative. They've said that a few times.
Yeah, they have. And also their stories, you know, they've been questioned. Matter of fact, Nick reported that parents they've been questioned both together and separately.
Yeah.
What in the world is going on here? See what I'm saying? This is why we talk about this case.
So why is Seth going around raging that he's a suspect and that the whole entire sheriff's department is corrupt?
Only he can answer now. Only he can answer that. Why is the Proudfoots, saying they're cleared? I mean, what we showed you is two instances. One, Seth is claiming that the Proudfoots are clear. He's claiming to his sister. And two, the Proudfoots claiming in documents. I've seen the documents. They're legit. That they're clear. They're saying it, though. Not law enforcement.
Yeah.
And we stress that right from the very beginning. It's what they are saying. We're analyzing what they are saying.
Yeah, and they've vetted the parents and that everyone's been cooperating. That's what they consistently say.
This is wild, man. But I'm glad. I remember I said I hopefully one of these media outlets come out and set the record straight while we do this live, and I think Nick watches the channel. He watches. He watches. So good.
Well, so to me it makes it even more because here once again, because this isn't the first time that Nick has said this. He said, I don't know if it was these exact words, but I mean he said that for a while. So it just makes it even more questionable as to why Seth would be running around yelling at the top of his lungs that he's a suspect. Why would he do it? Like, why?
Why would the Proudfoots say they've been cleared? We could go both on all of them. Like, why are they all saying these things? We'll look into it.
Well, yeah.
We'll continue to cover what they say.
Yeah, the difference is that the Proudfoots seemed to, a few months ago, sort of kind of step back from making public comments and things like that. But Seth never really did. I mean, he still says that he's a suspect.
But they got faith for the summer. So if they were suspects, like we discussed, he wouldn't get the kid.
Right. Exactly.
Wouldn't get faith.
Mm-hmm.
So unless Nick's reporting is based off old, things that law enforcement told him in the past about people being cleared and not being cleared, the circus continues on the Sebastian Rogers case.
It's very confounding. G-Dragon said, why would you wish to be a suspect if you've never been told that?
I don't know. I don't know what to take about this. We're gonna have to digest and process this whole situation here at this point, and we'll come back. We're definitely not going away. We'll continue to evaluate. Yeah. We'll continue to see if any of them respond to what's said, what's put out there. Sometimes it seems like Seth, he speaks, but he also uses others to speak for him, it seems like, a little bit. Proudfoots have just totally went silent, more or less. It seems like they're private at this point. They're living a private life. Where they're at, I don't know. You know, I don't know. What if Sebastian is not found by the fall? I suspect fall, winter, around that time, they'll probably do a massive search up there. Law enforcement organized search, maybe with private groups or something like EquiSearch or something, you know, one of these nonprofits or something, and do a sweep. I really do think once the leads goes down, the sweep is happening.
Yeah, and you know, I think one thing to consider too about the Proudfoots, a likely reason that they stepped back from the limelight and everything could be attributed to getting Faith for the summer. You know, they don't want to subject Faith to all this drama and hysteria online. And I think maybe part of them not continuing to speak publicly could be simply that, you know, they want to protect her from this as much, to the extent that they can, because they're not going to want all this drama with her, and they're trying to spend time with her, things like that. So that could be part of why they kind of went dark.
Yeah, we shared 3 examples of where it's claimed the Proudfoots have been cleared. Nick's own reporting way back, Seth, what he told his sister allegedly, and Proudfoot's recent court document in the last few months about Faith, saying that they've been cleared. Interesting. All right, folks. Yep. Anything else you'd like to add, Magnolia?
No, I don't think so right now. Someone said that Nick the Hat posted something, but I don't know if they're getting that confused with Nick Barris. So just to clarify, the statement we just read was Nick Barris's statement from the local news media there. I can look to see if Nick the Hat made a post. Let's see.
Nick said the Proudfoots have not been cleared in any investigation involving the disappearance of Sebastian Rogers. There's a slight chance that local police cleared them, but not the FBI. Interesting, but isn't the FBI and local police working together on this case? I don't think there's 2 separate investigations, is there?
Oh, well, what Sumner County said that they have partnered with the FBI.
So just a partnership is everyone collectively together. And we see this when they solve cases, you know, when they all give their press conference and they pat each other in the back. We say in partnership with this, and everyone's patting their back like we solved the case. You know, and thanking everybody.
Yeah.
So interesting. All right, folks, let us know what you think. We're on this. Nice. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah. It continues. But we want to find Sebastian. Hopefully this gaslights them. Triggers people to come out of the woodwork, share more. We want to know more. And we want Sebastian found.
Yeah, that's all we all want, is for him to be found.
All right. JLR investigates, Magnolia investigates. Thank you, Magnolia.
Me?
Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification button. Proudfoots lie, Seth lies, or are they telling the truth? Who's telling the truth here? A lot of fog, misinformation, storytelling. We're going to analyze it. We're going to try our best to go through the fog and navigate this. If you're new and just jumped on, go back and review this video. Very insightful. And we'll continue to bring awareness to Sebastian. If you have any credible information about the whereabouts of Sebastian Wade and Drake Rogers, you contact Tennessee Borough Investigation, 1-800-TBI-FIND. I believe it's FBI at 1-800-FBI-FIND. And or Sumner County Sheriff's Office, your local law enforcement office, any law enforcement office. Your little information could help. Plus, you could collect a cool $75,000, $50,000 from FBI, private individual, $25,000. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. You've seen something, February 26th, you've seen cars in the area, or you've seen some suspicious cars in the Proudfoots neighborhood on Sunday, as law enforcement previously said, they're looking for footage on the day of the 25th. If if you've seen anything in that area, like if you're in Long Hollow and you're just in that area or down the road at a traffic stop or something, you've seen a suspicious vehicle or something, or check your, you have something, you were filming and just coincidentally caught something with your camera, give it to the authorities, because that little key nugget, 25th and 26th, that key nugget could be the key of finding this little boy, if the little boy was lured out of the home. Or did he walk away? All right, folks, JLR Investigates. We'll talk soon. We cover true crime 24/7, 365. Good morning. Until next time, please be safe. JLR Investigates.